Hi, Ali from Alys Stitch Fingers here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make this Abbey bag. It's a canvas, it's a quilting cotton bag which is wadded and quilted, and it's got a nice wide gusset, and it's made out of a beautiful fabric which is got butterflies all over it. This one I've done on my embroidery machine, so you can see the lovely little butterflies and flowers with the quilting. It's got a zip pocket, which is a chunky zip on the front or the back, whichever you prefer it to be, and it's all finished inside with binding. So it's quite an easy make, but just in case you want a helping hand, then here we are. So it comes in both these colours, available on my website, which is alysstitchfingers.co.uk, and I've got my pieces already cut out, ready to go, so I could try and do it quickly. So these again have been quilted beforehand, all ready to go. So I'm going to put you in position, and hopefully I can show you how to do the bag. Let me just put my side table down so I can get you past without knocking you. Bear with me. I'm not good at all the video editing, so I have to do it by hand. There we go. Right, so you're in position. I will turn the lights down on my machine. Turn it down as low as it'll go. So it's still bright, but it's a little bit better than it was. Right, so first of all, we're going to do the pocket for the zip. And you can see on here, I'll just turn you around a little bit, I've drawn the rectangle. It tells you the measurements in the pattern, but you can see that rectangle that's been drawn there, and I've drawn the central line and then these V's going into the corners. So what I need to do with this is place it. Oh, I need to put my, there we go. So I'm going to place it parallel to the piece, or one of the pieces, and I'm just going to draw around that box. That's where my zip's going to go. So when I say draw, I mean with the sewing machine. So I'm just going to stitch along the lines. Just take my slippers off. I find it easy to sew barefoot. I'm not going to put a handle on this. I'm going to use it as a camera bag or a cosmetic bag, so I don't want a handle on. But that's where you can actually change your projects for whatever purpose they are. Right. Just get a sharp pair of scissors. So as you can see, I've stitched all the way around the outside of that box. You don't stitch along the line in the middle. I'm going to cut along that line in the centre up to the V shape on both sides. And I've got curved scissors, which are not the best for cutting straight lines. So I'm now going to cut right into that corner without cutting the stitches, as far up as I can get, right up to those stitches. You need good scissors for this, so you want scissors that's going to snip right to the point. And on the other side. Right, now what you need to do is push all this through. Pull it all, you're pulling quite hard on it to pull it through. And so long as you've not cut those stitches, you'll be absolutely fine. If you find that it's rolling, go back in and trim off some of this here. I'm not going to, I don't think I need to, but then you want to give it a press. So pulling it through. If you pull it level with the outside edge there, you can see you get a nice neat finish on there. Pull the edges up to the top, and that's going to give you a lovely letterbox. Well, I call it a letterbox. I'm not sure if that's what it's called. So just give it a nice press. My iron's just warming up. Should have got that ready beforehand. And then we're going to get the zip. This is a really quick pocket to do. And I think people get a little bit scared of them, but there's really no need to. So you can see there, we've got that nice envelope there. We're going to get the zip. I've already put my slider on. And we're going to position the zip centrally in there. And we're going to stitch all the way around the outside. So I'm just going to get my zipper foot. Excuse me. There we go. Zipper foot on. Move my needle over. Place my zip in the centre. If you want to pin this, you feel free and pin. I'm trying to do it quickly for speed. And I'm going to stitch right on the edge, keeping that zip central in there. Pulling it all nice and flat. Go round the side and along the bottom edge, pulling the fabric as straight as possible. And you get to the opposite end, sew along that side as well. Take that out and you've now got your zipper opening. So now what we're going to do is pull the fabric up to the back, make it all level, move the front out of the way and stitch all the way around this. In fact, you don't need to stitch the bottom, it's going to be level with that, so just stitch down the both sides. So I can take my zipper foot off now. Oops, throw my foot at me. So we're just moving the front of the bag out of the way and stitching down that side. So if you wanted to, you could actually, so again, sorry, just move this out of the way and stitching over the zip at the same time. What I was going to say was, you may find it easier, now you've got all this done, to just stitch all the way around that and treat it as one piece. For speed, I'm not going to do that, but I am going to now round off the corners. Now how I do it, excuse me, I've got a right mess on here, is take both my pieces, you can do it one at a time if you want, but I've got this contraption here which has got the different corners on, so I'm going to use the 3-inch corner and I'm going to place it level with the sides there and there, and then just round that off. You can either do it by drawing and then cutting, or you can do it with your ruler, with your rotary cutter, and just trim round. I'll do that on all the 4 corners, and then what I'm going to do is, because I don't want to be standing up, I'm just going to put them both together and just copy from this one onto the other one. But you don't want to be cutting this too much smaller, so you're only actually doing just that very edge of it, So that's how much I've cut off, just that little corner there. And that's giving me my nice rounded corners. So what I'm going to do is place this one on top of this one and just follow that around as easily as that. There we go. I know I'm doing it quick and rough, but it's just so that I can get the video out there to help you along. Right, so now that's done, what we're going to do is the zipper portion, which I should have done while I had my zipper foot on. So we've got these two pieces here. I'll just move all these rulers out of my way. Change back to my zipper foot. Because I've put my zipper foot on, my needle automatically goes back to that position. I've got my other zip ready. I'm going to place it right sides together, so zipper face down against the pretty side of the fabric. And I'm going to stitch along the centre of the zip tape, keeping the edges level all the way to the end. Just like that. So now what I'm going to do is push that to the back, and on the very edge of the zip tape on this side we're going to stitch that in place, which will give it a top stitch, but which will also hold that zip tape out of the way so it's not going to get caught when the bag's opened and closed. You might find it easier to press it flat first. And again, if you want to trim off some of that wadding, feel free to do that. It does make it a lot easier. Just for speed, I'm just holding it down with my finger. A stiletto would help as well. There we go. So that is going to hold that down, and from this side it's going to give it a nice 1/4 of an inch top stitch. Place the other side. Again, you've got your zipper foot there, sorry, your zipper pull there, right sides together, so pretty side facing the zip pull. Repeat, or if you want to do it along the zip tape, do it from this the other side. If you were doing a handle, you would make your handle now. It's quite simple, you don't need me to tell you how to do that. But basically it's 4 inches pressed to the centre, then the raw edges pressed into that centre line, folded again and top stitched. It's all in the instructions. Just repeating with the zip tape to hold it all in position. That's just my iron telling me it's still there. Right, so that's that one done. So now what I can do is just trim that level. Don't use your best scissors. Excuse me, it's just reaching over you. Right, so now if you'd done your handle, you would place the handle over the zip here and over the zip here. But because we're not doing that, just cut that level. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm going to get my gusset and I'm going to place it over the top. So if you were doing a handle, your handle would be inside there. Put my normal foot back on. It's like doing the hokey-cokey with your feet. I'm just going to stitch from one side to the other. So that's stitching the gusset to the zipper and then we're going to do the same at the other side, which is going to make it into a tube or a circle. Just make sure that zip pulls out of the way. It is now. Just going to trim that level. So now we've got a full circle. This is now the gusset. So what we do is we're going to cover up those raw edges there. All we're going to do is take the gusset strips, fold them in half, place that raw edge against the gusset there, and if you turn it over you can stitch along the stitches you stitched previously, as you can see those. I'm going to get my stiletto and we're going to bring up the binding, which is going to cover those stitches. If you need to trim some of this off, I'm going to trim just a little bit off just to make it a bit easier. So I've just trimmed about half of it off. Bring the binding over and we're going to top stitch down this side. So just bring the binding to cover those stitches and then top stitch that in place. It's going to give you a nice finish on there. So repeat on the other side, fold it in half, place it against the raw edge of the gusset, turn it over so you can see the stitches and stitch that in place. So I'm going to preempt that I need to trim a little bit off. Oops, flying bits. Bring the binding over, covering those stitches and top stitch in place. A stiletto really helps on this part. There we go. So that is the gusset now done. So what I'm going to do is fold it in half, bring those together, can't even think of the word, get a pen that is removable and draw a line on both sides of the gusset. Do the same at the other side. And then bring those two marks together. There. And draw a line at both edges again. And you need to do that on both sides. And then you're going to do the same. You're going to quarter the pieces here, your front and back. And then bring those two together and half this one. So now you've got your marks, your 4 marks there, and you're going to match those up with the gusset. I'll just get my clips out. Clip, oops, on each piece. There we go. Do the same on here. And then you're going to ease all these in around the sides. So just clip in as you go, easing it all in nicely. until you've got all the way around. Same on this side, match up those marks. Ease it around the corner. Oops, sorry, I knocked my camera. And then same on the last corner here. Just ease it around. I love clips for this, I think they're fantastic. There you've got your side or your back or your front, whichever it is. This one is the one without the zip pocket, but you're going to do exactly the same with that on the opposite side. Now it's up to you whether you lay it down the way with the base up or you lay it that way with the gusset up, whichever you find easier. I find it easier to have the gusset to the bottom and the back of the bag, excuse me, facing me. So I'm just going to stitch that in. If you're not sure or you're not confident doing this, put it on a long stitch and stitch around it that way. That way, if you do it wrong, you can actually unpick it very easily. But I can see that that's fine, so I'm just going to go for it. Taking my clips off as I go around, making sure my raw edges are all even. Just easing it around the corner. I think it'll make a lovely Christmas gift, this. Right, the other corner's done exactly the same. I'm only going to do one just so that I can show you quickly, but it's done exactly the same. I want to show you the binding as well. So if you've done it on a big stitch, what you would do is check it's all right and then reduce the stitch length and go around it again. But I can see that that's not a problem. That's done lovely. So you would do exactly that on the other side. Now the binding, this sometimes confuses people. Basically you've got a square like that. You cut diagonally down the centre, and then you're going to place one of the short edges, so that's the diagonal, one of the short edges with the other short edge like that. You're going to put them right sides together and stitch 1/4 of an inch. Now you need to have points at both sides hung over by 1/4 of an inch. It will do that naturally if you centre it. I'll just touch my iron so that it doesn't get too cold. I'll just move my bits out of the way so I can press it. So if I open that up, now you can see the shape that you need to do. It's a trapezoid basically. What I need to do is press the centre seam open. It's not a trapezoid, it's a parallelogram. I'm getting all my words mixed up. Right, so I've pressed that open. As such, now what I need to do is lay it down onto my cutting mat, and I need to fold it in half, and then what I'm going to do is bring this side down and this side down so it makes an oblong, if I can show you that. And I'm going to cut 2-inch strips of there, or is it 2 1/4? It's either 2 or 2 1/4, whatever it says in the instructions. Oops. I'm going to cut 2 1/4. I think that's right. 3 will probably do it, just so I can do one side. So you would go the whole way along the strip, but I've now got 3 strips, which is about half of that, what I've just stitched, so it should be enough. So now what I need to do is make sure that all the pieces are going to be with the seams the right way. So you can see that lines up perfectly. Place them right sides together and join that diagonally. So you can see what's happening. It's going to make a long strip. So another one. So again, right sides together. It will naturally fall that the points are sticking over by 1/4 inch, which is correct. Stitch 1/4 inch seam. And then you're better off pressing it, but just for speed, I've got one of those little seam rollers. So I'm just going to give it a little roll. Hopefully that's going to be enough to hold it, because there's only 2 seams. And then I'll show you how we do the binding. Some people find this easier than putting a lining in and then trying to turn it through. So I'm going to just fold over about 1/4 inch, fold it in half, wrong sides together. Where's my bag? I'm going to start on the bottom, and I'm going to start, well, it doesn't really matter where you start, but I'm going to put all the raw edges together, and I'm going to stitch, trying to cover those stitches up. Which, if you do it 1/4 inch, it should drop on there fine. So keep the raw edges all level, easing it around the corner. It is a bias cut, a bias binding by doing it this way, so it will go around the corners nicely. Keep the edges level, ease it around the corners. You can trim some of the bulk off if you need to before you turn your binding over. And if I weren't doing this against the clock, I would press my binding over before I stitch it down. Here we go. So we're coming back to where we started, and I'm going to trim off. I'm going to go over the part where we started here, and I'm going to trim off and just overlap that by maybe about 1 inch. I'll show you when I finish it off. take that out. So now you can see we've gone all the way around, overlapping. Well, it's about half an inch actually there. So what I suggest you do is press the binding away from the bag, and we're going to cover up this stitching here. So if you needed to, you could trim some off. I think I'm going to be fine. So I'm just going to lay that down, get my stiletto and just cover that stitching up. If this was on the outside, I would stitch it by hand, but because it's on the inside, I think it's absolutely fine to do it by top stitching. But if you prefer the look of the hand stitching, then by all means do that. I'm just trimming off some bulk here at the edge. This is where you do need to take your time doing the binding, but it's a nice easy bag to do, this one, and I do think it makes a lovely gift, a really useful one as well. You can get quite a lot in them. Coming around the top side. Don't forget, if you do need to just trim a little bit of the bulk off. And I do like to use a stiletto for things like this. I think it makes it a lot easier. Coming around the curve. Let's take it steady around the curve. Almost finished. Last curve. There we are, back to the beginning. Just cover up where you started, and then back tack. Take that out, trim your threads. So now you've got that lovely bound edge on your bag. And when you've done the other side, it will look like this one. So you've got the lovely bound edges in there and quite a roomy bag. So that is the Abby bag. Thank you for watching. See you again later. Bye.